Okay, we're gonna try this again. Thank you guys for hitting that like button as you came in. Now, let's see if it is live on the channel because I have no idea what the hell just went on or why it's still showing me live on another show because the phone that I'm on is this one. So I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe they didn't want me talking about what I was talking about. Yeah, because they got me live on two. The second show, it's no longer live. I have no idea why it's buffering, what it's buffering from. I've literally turned the phone off and restarted it. So, I'm not sure what's going on. Let me make sure the audio is okay.
Not sure what's going on.
Okay,
Let me make sure the audio is okay. Not sure what's going on.
Yeah, we're not going to have that infinite echo that's going on that either. All right. Got back to it. What we're getting updated on is the fact that yes, we have a member section that's coming on. We're going to have 4 tiers. One is a $20 tier. One is going to be you know what? I think it's 10, 20, 50, and 100. Those are the 4 tiers. Each tier has a different thing. One is going to have exclusive merchandise, blah, 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 and yada, 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 yada. Also, the podcast is going global. Appreciate that. I'm waiting on approval from that. Told you guys I was waiting on approval from a couple other things. Da, 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 da. The donation can be done through Super Chat. It can be done through got in now. Okay, thank you, driver. Cause yeah, I don't know what's going on that other channel or why it's going on or what have you. This is or the other link, but let it run because apparently it's gonna help. If not, it don't help. But it's not helping me because I gotta talk. But going back to what I was actually going to talk about, and okay, hold on, give me 1 second. There we go, and back in. All right. So, okay, yes, I actually spoke about on the podcast. Next up, if you haven't had an opportunity, go check it out. Go check it out on iTunes. Go check it out on your favorite podcasting platform. And if you have Alexa, give Alexa a shout out. Say, hey, Alexa, play Supreme Decisions Legal Minute podcast, and it'll give you the next episode. Or actually, probably the first episode that you listen to. I'm not sure how that works. Anyway, on that, I talked about Ahmaud Arbery. I talked about Gregory and Travis McMichael. I spoke about the DA Barnhill. I spoke about the Georgia stand your ground statute. I spoke about William Robbie Bryan, who was the guy that actually filmed the video that we were all privy to see. I did not speak about the lawyer who leaked it. And I also didn't talk about the GBI getting involved, but I did speak about how it was kind of odd on what they were looking for, why they were looking for it. But it was actually who leaked the tape and basically why. And the premise of it was the fact that it was a defense attorney and he decided that it was better to do the right thing because he saw something that maybe he didn't want to see, or maybe it was something that offered a lot of questions that he wanted to make sure answers were given on it. So, with that being said, there was a video that was released by the Georgia Bureau of Investigations this morning, and it showed Ahmaud Arbery going down the street. They showed him walk up to a newly constructed or currently being constructed home. You see him in the video walk up to the home. You see him in the video walk out from the home. Now, a couple things that was brought up during this was the fact that, oh, he's casing. Okay, how is he casing something whenever there's nothing there to be cased? And then the thing that I thought was interesting was because that's something I do often. I don't run. I'm not running. Too big for that. Too lazy for it too. But walking up to a newly constructed house while it's being constructed is pretty much something a lot of people do. That does not mean it's something alarming. However, if he's a new person in that neighborhood, then yes, I can get them, that raising a flag for people. But the thing that caught my eye was the fact that he did not fit the description of the quote unquote burglar that was called about, which Glenn County Police Department stated he did not. And the people whose home he was around were not the ones that was calling the cops. The homes that he was around when he walked up to that constructed home or newly constructed home didn't complain about him being there. He walked up, walked out. Probably about 20 minutes later, he's gunned down. And I also spoke about yeah, I'm actually going back to my notes. That's what I do. Anthony Trafiletti. He's 24. He murdered Doug Lewis, 39, after a traffic accident. I think I put stop on there. But the one thing that I wanted to bring up on that was the fact that when I spoke about that, I spoke about the entitlement mentality. I spoke about the fact that a lot of people feel that you need to answer them just because they're asking you a question. And one of the things I'm going to do, I'm actually going to do a video within the next day or so because I want to point something out to you. Because again, it goes back into everything that I'm saying when I speak about entitlement mentality. Because just like in most other killings and shootings and blah 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 blah, there are GoFundMe that are going on. There are private groups that are going on. And the funniest shit that I've ever seen in my life was probably about an hour after my podcast went live. I got a invitation to one of these private groups on Facebook, and the invitation was for the McMichaels. And the thing that I thought that was hilarious was, I'm actually going to read this crap to you because it was, like I said, it was hilarious. And the context of it, and the funniest thing is, I was so shocked that I took two pictures of it. But it's a private group, and basically it tells me that Dion Winfrey invited me to the group. And the context of this is the fact that it reads, these two God-fearing men were only trying to protect their neighborhood. This area has had a string of break-ins, and this man fit the description. Now, the first issue I have with that is a lie, because Glenn County Police Department stated at the time, February 23rd, at 1 p.m., that he did not fit the description of the person that was allegedly breaking into these homes and did not comply with simple commands. Again, this is the entitlement mentality. Just because someone talks to you, that does not mean you have to obey, listen to, or comply with them. You don't even have to comply with police officers. Why? Because until there is a crime, they are in a position of servitude. That's it. Because again, I've read that case 1,001 times. And guess which one it is? Florida v. Royer. I don't have to pay attention to him. I don't have to respond to you. And then even with the police, to comply with simple commands. I don't know you. If you stopping me and you have a shotgun and a 357 Magnum, and I go around you, I first change directions. Then I go around you a second time, and then there's a third encounter. You aren't trying to talk to me. There's no command that you could give me. And at what point did you become my father or mother? Because at the end of the day, I say it often. I don't owe you nothing. Because at the end of the day, what I have is for me. I don't have to comply with anything you ask me to do. It is my choice. If I choose not to do that, then it's on you. Fuck your feelings. That's all this is. And our hearts go out to the McMichael family in their time of need. The problem is their need was created by their desire to be heroes. That is the reason why they use the stand your ground. The problem is the second he decided in his mind that he was going to go out and be a superhero versus minding his own business, because again, doing the right thing would have been, hey, that guy looks suspicious. Let me take note that he's circling the block. Why does he not call police? He is retired. Then two, why does he then tell his son, his adult son, hey, go grab my shotgun and a 357 Magnum, and then you turn around and tell your boy, hey man, come behind us and film it. Now, there are two sides to that filming. You'd be like, look, I ain't trying to get into no shit, so yeah, you come film this to show it I ain't doing nothing. But then when it comes to the point that you're covering up or hiding the film, what's the point in that? Because again, that's the thing I talk about constantly with police. Because at the end of the day, if we're going to talk about these are the good guys, these are the guys we're supposed to trust, why is it when a police officer tells somebody that he trusts to film him doing something that he feels is right, why does he then not want that shown? Yes, I pause for dramatic effect because if you listen to the podcast, I do that often because, again, it's one of those ideals for you to think. Understanding that there are certain aspects that don't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it just doesn't make sense. You have to show me. I'm from Missouri. Show me. I'm from the show me state. Show me how that makes sense. Because just like Drake is, like I said, I listen to Drake every now and then, but one of the things that Drake said that I love is, the one thing about business, the hardest thing about business is minding your own. Had he just sat there and minded his own business, had he allowed that boy to just keep running on, or call the police if he thought something was wrong, because he's not a cop. And then the way he approached this young man, he's not in uniform. So what commands did this young man have to comply with? Because at the end of the day, this is one of those situations where, again, God has blessed me with a lot of size. Because I've got a huge heart, but I got a short tolerance for stupid. Because, again, God has blessed me to not be in these type situations. Because, again, I'm in this situation. The one thing that I'm not doing, if I see you blocking the road one way and I'm jogging, and I turn around to go back a completely different direction, because I spoke about on the podcast how the neighborhood is a big ass circle. There is very little traffic in that neighborhood. It's almost ideal for jogging. And unfortunately, it's almost ideal for burglaries, because you got a lot of older people there in that neighborhood. It's in a circle, not a lot of access, and not a lot of people to get in your way. So there are aspects that are there that we're not going to argue with, because we're just going to argue what happened. Because even if, oh, no problem, no problem. What we're going to do, what we have to do is figure out exactly what it is that the story that we're trying to illustrate. And the reason why I actually brought the context of what is it? The context of why he was at the property is because I speak about often how words have power. The simple fact that they use the words casing. It's the exact same thing if you go to an open house and there's no realtor there. Are you casing that property? Or are you just walking on? Because again, when you look at the video, he's not ducked down and sliding from side to side, hoping nobody sees him. He walks straight up there. He walks into the building because there's no door. And then he walks out on the side. And again, the people that are next door, you can see the window, the curtains move. Somebody saw him walking. If they had an issue, they would have called the police. They did not. Understanding these little simple things. Because even Greg, the former cop, in his initial statement stated, didn't see him do anything. I saw him running. That's it. And the boy was running in shorts and t-shirt. So what in the hell did he burglarize? And what did he burglarize with? Where was he toting any of the stuff he's supposed to have stolen? Where was all the stuff at? He didn't even have a cell phone on him. So how in the hell was he taking something or breaking into anything? Sometimes the obvious becomes the stupid. And in this case, it was the stupid because you have overzealous people that are going out and making determinations for whatever reason. Because when you talked about that, I went into, like I said, Talaferro, and this young man, he was in a car accident. He made up a lie on what Doug Lewis had said. He stated that Doug Lewis hit him from behind. Boom. Doug Lewis is a working man. Doug Lewis works multiple jobs, has multiple children. Yeah, pretty much doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. But he's not he probably cuss a little bit like I do and like loose women. Guess what? None of that factors into the car accident. These two adult men get out their vehicles to exchange insurance information. Now, I also spoke about the fact that in most areas, when you're in a car accident, if you're in the middle of the road, guess what you got to do? You got to move that shit out the way while you getting your information together. Regardless of what happens afterwards, you got to get out the way. You can't impede the flow of traffic. So, Anthony spoke about how he had time to get out, speak to Doug, and then turn his back to Doug. Take pictures of the damage to his car on the side, the rear, and the opposite side, right? Because it was pretty much the entire rear of the car. He spoke about how he did that. Yeah, probably so, Joe Cool. But then, for some reason, in Anthony's head, he hears Doug Lewis yelling, "I'm GD, I'm GD." You got a guy that works for Amazon yelling he's GD. What gang member do you know that's working for Amazon driving cars? I just want to know. Just name one. And then he says, when Doug moved his vehicle out the way and parked, he wasn't leaving the scene. He moved his vehicle out. And this is what Anthony said. He moved his vehicle out the way and parked. Anthony then walks up to Doug, who's in the car, getting his insurance information, and shoots him 4 times and leaves in a drive-by, the irony of this, style shooting. But then he says that it's Doug's fault that he shot him. What? You said this. Everything that you said doesn't match what you did. Because again, the entitlement. He was surprised he was being charged with second-degree murder, even though he left the scene of an accident without getting Doug's information, and he had shot Doug 4 times. Then we have Hannah Payne. I spoke about her in the Zimmerman Project podcast. And she was in Atlanta, of all places. And this young man, Kenneth Herring, 62 years old, he was having a medical emergency, and in the midst of that emergency, he was involved in a car accident. Hannah witnessed this accident. So it is what it is. Hannah saw the accident. Instead of doing what the 911 operator told her to do, Hannah decided that she was going to lie to the person that was on the phone. Hannah did this not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 7 times. Now, the reason why I referred to her situation as the Zimmerman Project, not sure if you remember the in and outs of the George Zimmerman Trayvon Martin incident, but the fact that George Zimmerman called the police because to him, Trayvon Martin was suspicious. In this case, Hannah Payne called the police because she actually had witnessed a crime, an accident, a car accident. Now, she gave a description of Kenneth Herring's car, Kenneth Herring's appearance, and the tag number. The people spoke about, the 911 operator stated, hey, great, don't follow him. She says, I'm not. Remember, this is the exact same thing George Zimmerman did. He gave a description to Trayvon Martin. He didn't see Trayvon commit a crime. He saw Trayvon walking through the neighborhood. Gave a description of everything Trayvon had on. Police said, great, we're on the way. Don't follow him. George Zimmerman said, fine, I'm not going to do it. George Zimmerman was told not once, not twice, but 5 times on 5 separate occasions to not follow Trayvon. George Zimmerman ignored all of them and then said, I'm about to grab him. Hannah Payne was told not once, not twice, not every time there was an incident or there was something that Kenneth did, she reported it. And they kept saying, hey, are you still following him? Stop following him. Stop following him. Stop. Oh, I'm not following him. I'm not following him. And then she goes, oh, he just turned into the supermarket parking lot. The reason for the turn into the parking lot is because he could not make it any further. He was literally incapable of going any further. Went to the parking lot, and as safe as he could be, parked his conveyance. Hannah took it upon herself. Now we're going to jump over to George Zimmerman, because George Zimmerman took it upon himself to confront Trayvon. He confronted Trayvon just as the McMichaels did, with a weapon. Who in the hell are you talking to with a gun in your hand and you're not prepared to use it? Because she confronted Kenneth Martin, who's having an emergency, a medical emergency, with a gun after blocking him in with her Jeep. She jumps out of her conveyance with a gun in hand after she was told 7 times not to follow this man, not to engage, not to confront. George Zimmerman jumps out, runs up on Trayvon with a gun in hand. I think the story of all of this is everybody that wants to have a conversation and is told to mind your fucking business is jumping out with a gun. I don't know what he has. Then leave him the fuck alone. Call the people who wear vests. Call the people who have some half-ass training to deal with these motherfuckers. Quit trying to poke your nose into other folks' business and then being surprised when some shit happens. Because honestly, this is one of the reasons why I don't advocate just flat out violence. But if somebody's sticking their nose in your business and they show up with a gun, give them what they came for. Take that however you need to take it. If they show up with a gun, they're not coming to talk to you and be reasonable. They're coming to do some fuckery. They're coming because they feel entitled. They're coming because they deem that you need to give them an answer. And this is, again, one of those opportunities where I'm going to give you the story of my son. My son was at that age where he wanted to speak to everybody. Hi, 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 hi. And it got on my damn nerves. And then just so happened, he spoke to this young man that was in front of us in line at the grocery store. The young man didn't speak back. My son spoke about 3 or 4 times and then turns around and looked at me and goes, why isn't he speaking back? I told him, I said, because he doesn't have to. I use a bunch of other stuff that go along with it, but he doesn't have to. Regardless of how you feel about it, no one is obligated to speak to you. You aren't even obligated to speak to anyone else. That's part of the right to remain silent. If you have an inability to do so, that's on you. Because one thing you should be able to control is yourself. One thing that you need to be able to do is not try to manipulate, which a gun in a conversation is. If you're trying to talk, if you got to talk to me with a gun, what the fuck are we talking for? Because if you got, it'd be like, hey, I got to go over there, holler at Richard. Let me take this 50. Like, what are we talking about? Honestly, if you have to speak to someone with a gun, what are you talking about? Because just like I spoke in a podcast, if you go back and go through police records, you can go to any city, any town, any state that you like. Grab an armful of the armed robbery people that have been robbed at gunpoint. Go through those files and see how many, after they had a gun in their face, was able to give a description of the robber. Don't worry, I'll wait. because there was a time in my life that happened. Because I want you to understand, most people respect the badge. Everybody respects a gun because a gun is instantaneous. There have been people that have been shot and survived, but when you talk about the ones that have been shot and not breathing anymore, it's a far greater number. That is why it's a lethal weapon. It is a life-taking weapon. This is one of the reasons why I speak about if you have a uniform on, and that is the first thing you reach for when your first job is the preservation of life. Your training is horrible, or you are a horrible person either. Either way, it's on you. Because at the end of the day, if you have 7 options that are non-lethal and the first thing you grab is a lethal weapon to have a conversation, you shouldn't be having that conversation. Because anybody that you can't talk to with common sense without the gun, you don't need to be talking to. Anybody you got to take a pistol to have a conversation with, you don't need to talk to them. Because you are already saying that you are too scared to have the conversation. And guess what they're not going to be paying attention to when you're talking to them with a gun in their face? Not you. I want you to understand it. They're not going to be paying attention to you when you got a gun in your face. So when you talk about going back and understanding the context of entitlement, that is the most dangerous thing. Because even when D.L. Hughley wrote the book, The Most Dangerous Place for Black People to Live is in the Minds of White Folks, understand the context of what he's giving. Because he's giving you the entitlement mentality, but he's using it in phrases that are catchphrases. He's using verbiage that lives in the minds of the majority. Because you have to understand the context of it. Because most of us, if you have dark skin, you don't feel entitled for shit. But what you do understand is that they've weaponized your skin. Me, my skin and my size is weaponized. I understand that. That's why I do things to take those away. That's why I'm able to speak on a level that most can't understand. That's why I'm able to look them in the eye and be very stern at directing. And if they don't listen, if they're not able to comply, guess what? I make sure, since they can't follow, as they put it, simple commands, I got to tap them pockets because you didn't give a shit about learning. So I got to take that from you because you're going to sit down. You wanted me to sit down, I got to make sure you're sitting down. Now, I appreciate everybody that was able to show up today. I apologize for the first one. I have no clue what the hell happened on that first one and why it's still running. But at the end of the day, I need you guys to send over things that you want me to talk about. I need you guys to send over things that concerns you. Any questions you may have. Any directions that you want to see where we're going or how this thing is growing itself. Because again, we're going to have merchandise. We're going to have the masterclass. We're going to have the memberships. We're going to have the seminars. And I'm working on all that. But again, other stuff that kind of flip that around. But at the end of the day, I'm looking to make sure you have quality. That's the reason you don't see videos up every day. Because I could give you bullshit every day. I can give you some old bullshit every day. Okay, let me, in the courtroom, which is the gun, the Constitution. You have to understand, okay, I often give a analogy of this. Oh, you know what, Bill, I apologize. I think you asked me that once before about the qualified immunity. And it's understanding the context where the immunity stopped. That's why when you're going through the initial incident, you're doing all the gathering, which is also part of, or supposed to be part of, the discovery package. But you're also asking in detail, oh, what's up, Willie? And no, I'm not coming back to Augusta. But the immunity stops when there's a violation that is not allowed by law. Now, when you're speaking about the courtroom, the simple fact is the courtroom itself is just a holding area. It's a hearing area. Oh, you know what? Send me a link to that, Raymond. I would love to actually take a look at it because I actually was going to talk about the Wisconsin, the voting shit they did in Wisconsin, and then the very next day did some other BS that I thought was hilarious because like, okay, you just said yesterday you couldn't do it, but you had did it the week before and you're doing it today. You literally just said it yesterday. But anyway, but it's one of those where when you're dealing with the courtroom, the simple thing is I understand that everybody has to follow federal law. Why? Because that's the law of the land. So if everyone has to follow federal law, that is the parenting guideline, right? Because that's where the liability lies at with the federal government. Now, when you're going back and understanding if there's an issue that an adult has with a child, you don't go and speak to another child about the issues that you have with this one child. You go and speak to their parents. When you're dealing with a executive officer, their parent is the federal court. But you also have to understand how clearly established works. You also have to understand the application, which is why I give you so many cases that deal in situational happenstance. Because just because something happens to you, right, it may change another part of the situation where another case more is more apt to that situation versus um if there's something that's sitting there where, and just like Terryville, Ohio is the coverage for search and seizure. However, there are literally 300 to 400 situational cases within Terryville, Ohio. I even spoke about the search itself. I even okay, and we there's certain situational issues that'll come up that kind of change because even was I believe Brennan v. California. There's a situation that comes in that. Even when you have tossed evidence, there are a couple of situations that deal with that. How the weapon is tossed, how the evidence is gathered, because you're going through chain of custodies. And a lot of the other stuff is just kind of piecing together what your situation was. But you don't do that in state court. You don't do that in traffic court. You do that with their parents. Their parent is federal court. So you have to understand the ins and outs of not only writing the complaint, because I see that misdone 99% of the time, because I had this young woman, she asked me for help probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And she had an issue. And for me, the legal aspect of it was pretty much cut and dry because she had all the paperwork. She was on point with her paperwork. Okay, cool. So I got together, I put it together, put the complaint together, handed it back to her, and it was 4 pages. 4 pages with the law, the the infraction, the law, what she was looking for, moved on to the next point. Had no details in it. She said, I don't like that. Oh, you know what? Raymond, you hit that cash app. I'll go ahead and do that right now. I'm glad you brought that up because I actually looked that over and did something. And then Abraham is hitting me during the show. Thank you, Abraham. What's up from Swanee? What was her song? Oh, the issue was the she told me that she didn't like it because it wasn't worthy to be submitted because her original complaint was 28 pages. Now, I went back and gave her the the easy on it. If you go back on the book, the actual numbers of people that read, right? 75% of people don't read another thing after high school. So that means 25% of the people that do read something after high school, that's cool. That's the number we're going to deal with. So those that do read, you now go into those that go to college after they graduate from college. Most 25%, right? That 25% of those that do read again and go to college, less than 25% of them actually read another book. So again, you were reading something, but it's only for comprehension so you can regurgitate it. You're not paying attention to it. It's not something that you're doing just because. So now you go into those that after college, less than 10% of those 25 read. So you're talking about a very minuscule number. Most don't read past the first chapter of a book. And then you have those that read past that first chapter. You have less than 1%. In that 1%, you probably got your judges and your prosecutors and all these defense attorneys, all these other people. You have them. Because unfortunately, I'm in that number because I'm a reader. It's just what it is. But understanding the context of it, you're understanding the fact that there's a reason the Kindle is not the number one, what do you call that, tablet. They're selling millions of tablets, but they are far beyond behind everybody else. They had to add other stuff to it because ain't nobody just reading. And they're damn sure not going to spend $100 to just read. Absolutely, Raymond. And and that's generally how it happens. You know enough to get pissed off at everything you see. But when you're talking about now you're gonna hand 26 pages to someone that exactly the audio books, but you're gonna hand 26 plus pages to somebody that's not going to read. Now, this is something that I know firsthand. One of the people that I used to have lunch with on a regular basis was a judge. He was a head judge in a county, right? We used to have a regular standing lunch. He told me that he will never read past 8 pages, and then he's probably only going to skim once he passes page 3. Understand that. This is a professional person. He doesn't care about, the devil is in the details. If you give too much detail, every time you give a detail that has nothing to do with law, you now have to prove it. This is why you don't have to, what do you call that? Supply an alibi. You don't have to give an alibi. Because once you do, you have to prove that alibi. You've then told them, this is my innocence. Why? You are not obligated to anything. You are not the accuser. The accuser is the only one that has to prove anything. The second you start defending yourself, you then have to prove yourself. That is where the entitlement comes in because you're programmed to defend. Most people need to be reprogrammed to not give a fuck about what they talking about. If you stop worrying about what everybody else is saying and doing and how they interact, fuck all that. Let it go. You can have it. Yeah, okay. Because I've been called some horrible names. Guess what? Whatever makes you sleep good at night, that's your business. Because there are very few people that say it in my face. Because we're not going to have a conversation. You don't like it? Okay. But if you do something else, I got to do something else. I got to put this 280 on you. Because even after that, it's not going to be long. Whatever it is, it's going to be quick. It's going to be, it's first round. It's definitely, whatever it is, it might not be Francis Ngannou first round, but it's first round. I ain't going past first. We can't go past the first round. And that is why I look at that, because I don't give a shit about your idea of entitlement. I don't give a shit what you think that I owe you. Because, yeah, no. Because I had a young lady tell me the other day, she was like, oh, well, she said this and she said that and it being mean. I said, okay, cool. How much are they paying you? She let me say, they ain't paying me nothing. I said, yeah, tell them to kiss your ass with the tongue out. Because again, if they're not doing anything for you, they can't do anything to you. And that's the whole context. You're either helping me build or you're hindering me from building. You're helping me do better or you're helping me stay in this pit. Are you going to make me better or are you going to hinder me from getting better? That is, there is no in between. You don't get a little bit pregnant. Either you're helping or you're not. Either you're benefiting or you're hindering. One to two. That is all that is there. And if you're choosing to do something that's not meaningful to either one of us, I have no issue with sending someone on their way. And you know what, Raymond? Raymond, you know what? I appreciate you because that's a grown person statement. He said, I appreciate being grown because I don't owe anybody an explanation for shit. I'm responsible for me. You don't like it? Oh well. Because guess what? Just like I told people, you can disagree with me all day. Great. You can say everything I'm putting up is wrong. Great. Show me what's right. Because it's not just me that you're benefiting. It's everybody that's following my dumb ass. Because if I'm giving you something wrong, you see it right. This is the right application of it. This is the right definition of it. Okay, appreciate that. Now, guess what I'm gonna do? I gotta do a show to recant the shit that I said to show you what is actually right. Or guess what? I gotta bring you on. Or there's something that's gotta be done because you've shown me that I was wrong. I've got to, if that's the whole purpose of what I'm doing, is to not only make myself better, but to make you better. I have to be better. And in order for me to be better, and you're showing me better, it will be ignorant of me to have somebody give me something that helps benefits me and helps benefit you. And I say, yeah, I'm gonna keep that in my pocket. I become a whole hypocrite then. Not only am I the asshole that's doing it, but I'm a whole hypocrite. You know what? Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, most people don't you know what? Most people actually have an idea of what's supposed to be. And unfortunately, what's supposed to be is not the world we live in. What's supposed to be is not what we're dealing with. What's supposed to be is not what's being taught. It's the things that are minuscule, the things that are the least important. And I put up something because I heard Jadakiss say it. I actually listened to a lot of dudes, but one of the things he said, it resonated with me. Because the worst things we have right now is that live button for YouTube, that live button for Instagram, that live button for Facebook and Periscope. That is the worst thing we can have because social media is now giving cowards an outlet. And I mean that and understand that because again, I use the word coward. When I'm speaking in those terms, I'm not talking about a person. I may be associating the word with that person, but I'm talking about their actions. When you're doing things that are cowardice, in my opinion, because someone's cowardly actions is an opinion. Because you can't measure coward. You can't directly interpret coward. Because in some instances, something that I see as cowardly may be strategy or strategic for someone else. Or for that situation that I don't know the whole end stuff. So again, okay, cool. It is what it is. But it is opinionated. But if I'm stating that your actions are cowardly, that doesn't mean you are a coward. I spoke about the actions of Greg being cowardly. Why? Because he involved 3 people in something with weapons because he wanted to do something. That's cowardly. To confront somebody with a gun to have a conversation is cowardly. Because if you're that afraid of them, leave them the fuck alone. When Hannah chose to not only disobey the 911 operator and lie to the 911 operator and get out of her car and then confront someone she's supposedly scared of, her actions didn't match her words. And then her actions to kill someone and take someone's life is cowardly. I don't think Hannah's a coward. I think following him and doing all that extra shit is actually brave. It's stupid, but it's actually brave. Her actions to do so and lie about it is cowardly, because as a grown person, just like Raymond just said, if you're going to do it, why are you not now accepting the responsibility of it being done? If you think it's right, why then lie about it? Because at the end of the day, you did it. It's done. And we're looking for, you know what? We're looking for temporary solutions with permanent action. That is one of the most dangerous things ever. You're looking for a temporary solution with a permanent action. These are the things I talk about when I say the state can't apologize when they incarcerate somebody. I just read a story literally this morning where this young man just got out of jail yesterday. He was in prison for damn near 39 years for something he didn't do because the state can't apologize. And then they're having a question about even paying this man because at the time he was arrested, he was not employed. What? You can't apologize even though you were wrong. You were blatantly wrong. You stole 40 years from this. You know, this dude's been in prison damn near the entire time I've been alive for something he didn't do. But then he's going to be looked at not as a human being, but as a criminal because he was in the system. Not because he did something wrong, but because he was in the system. And because he was in there so long, they have to believe that the system is right. You have to believe that what they're doing is okay. You have to believe that everything that's being done is kosher. The problem is that's not what we live in. We have an infallible system, which is why there are restrictions that were put on it in the 1800s. I'm going to say that one more time. We have an infallible system, or we have a fallible system because it has restrictions that was placed on our current system in the 1800s. They knew fuckery was coming. This is the thing that most people don't want to. And that's why whenever I showed the end of the Matrix, you know what, Bill? That's absolutely right. Because again, if they admit that they were wrong, then that will make everything else that's done behind them reversible. Because it would prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that there can be mistakes. And it's one of the reasons why I also spoke about the prison reform. Now, I understand. It's great that someone addressed it. Great. The problem I had with it was I'm a numbers guy. Because men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Regardless of how we like them or don't like them, numbers don't give a shit about it. That's why I love numbers. I've always been a numbers guy. Now, I'm going to give you the numbers. We have 2.1 million people incarcerated. 840,000 of them have not been convicted or exonerated because they're being held up for bail, because they can't afford bail. 841,000 people, 40% of our incarcerated, are being held up for bail. And the reason why I'm leaving that 840,000 up, because I want you to understand the context. Now, I go into the fact that the reform bill, the reform bill itself does not affect state prisoners. So now we take out damn near 1 million people because we have a little more than 400,000 people in federal prisons. Then the bill itself makes certain things, what's that, retroactive or retroactive? My country is saying it one way, but you know what I mean. Anything before a certain date doesn't affect. So everything after this date, it affects. So that now lowers it down to less than 20,000 people out of 2.1 million. 20,000 versus 840,000. And guess what? It only released 2,200 people. Less than 0.1%. That's the issue I have with it. If you're going to write something and want celebration from it, it needs to affect the masses, or at least the people that you are designing it for. Which is why one of the reasons I had an issue with the Affordable Care Act is because it did not help the people it was actually written for. It actually hindered them because you had a requirement on it. And the problem with that requirement is because the people that couldn't afford it fell right in the middle of it. There was a $19,000 gap. Most people didn't even understand. $19,000 per year gap. Guess where the poverty level is? Less than $19,000. So guess who falls into that gap? Over 70% of Americans. But then they're penalized for being in that gap. That is one of the reasons I had an issue with it. Because understanding, absolutely, Raymond, because it is and it's one of the reasons why a lot of folks got mad at Jalen Smith. I didn't watch the entire interview because he is kind of spacey. But when you understand the context of what he's saying, the school to prison formation, that's exactly what this is. When you talk about how it's set up, I'm a person that's gone to prison, so I know what he spoke about was real, which is odd because I don't think he's gone to prison. I'm pretty sure he hasn't. But to understand the context of it, just like it took me a while to understand Kanye's slavery was a choice. The problem is when he said it, there was no context behind it. There's a small snippet of a video that was taken of him giving context. And when he gives context behind these rants that he has, you're like, oh, that's what he's talking about. Because just like everybody, people ask me often, why is your channel not bigger? Why is your channel not bigger? Your channel should be bigger. The problem is niggas don't want information. And niggas is not a skin color. It's not a tone of person. It's a mentality. That is one of the reasons why Tupac spoke about never ignorant getting goals accomplished, because that's not the mentality of a nigga. When you understand the white man that told me a nigga will never open a book, that is the whole premise of it. They use a word to identify, but the problem is nigga is an action. Nigga is a behavior. And understanding not being in that behavior, we are being outnumbered because most people don't want education, because there's restriction on education. There are liability and responsibility with education, because the more you know, the more you grow. And that is why you have the top 2% of Americans have libraries. 98% of Americans don't have a library. Hell, most of them don't have library cards, and if they do, they're going to play video games at the library. They're not going to read. They're not going to enhance. They're not going to educate. That's why you have dwindling numbers for universities, or advanced studies. You have a lot of this online stuff that's going on. But here's the flip side of that. Because if I can spend $5,000 or $15,000 at a school like DeVry, why can't I spend that exact same amount of money to go to a school like Yale or Wharton or going to Harvard's business class? They have these classes available to you. If you're going to understand those things, I understand context. And what's up, Dexter? And Dexter's, like I said, Dexter's one of those guys. I love Dexter because it took me a minute to kind of swallow what he was doing, because he's one of those guys say, okay, hold on, you missed something right there. But at the same time, Dexter say, okay, here it is. Now let's have this conversation. He's never shied away from that. That is how we grow. And I speak about the iron sharpening iron. That is what we do. I don't mind being wrong about something. I don't mind having context placed on something that I'm saying, because again, it's not my words that I'm regurgitating for the most part. It's understanding we have to build a nation. Because here's something, I'm gonna flip it back on y'all. Everybody that feels my videos are important or educational or whatever, are you sharing the videos? Are you uploading them to your social medias? Are you telling people about, you know what, you need to go check out Supreme? Are you doing that? Because those are things that need to be done. Now, and I'm gonna tell you why. If you aren't, I'm gonna tell you why you aren't. because you know who wants to be better and who isn't, and you know who's around you. Absolutely. But that's the context of it. Because we know who's around us. We know where we are. Because I understand I am a tough pill to swallow. I am a hard, I am real, I am not easy for people to pay attention to. I get it. I don't mind. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, it's something that needs to be done. And and again, Raymond, I appreciate that because again, we know who's around us. Raymond State, I don't know anybody else that'll get you or get your videos or understand the depth that you're talking about because I don't just give it to you. Boom. I give you pieces. Here's a piece of bread. Here's a piece of bread. Here's a piece of bread. Here's a little steak. Can I give it to you? I give you food cut up. I don't give you whole steaks. I give you pieces. And these things are done with a purpose. But in that purpose, I want to make sure you're able to digest it easy. I want to make sure you have an opportunity to actually get full and be fulfilled. Because just like I told another friend of mine, there are people that actually donate to the channel. I can't give you bullshit just because I don't feel like doing something. And it prevents overeating. I appreciate that. But also, I can't just throw something up. I can't just, because, there are literally millions of cases. There are millions of things we can talk about. Because just like I said, I could have talked about the Wisconsin voting shit. I could have talked about a couple of other things that's going on. But I also want everybody, because I'm actually getting ready to close for the day. But I want everybody to pay attention to the things that I'm saying. And I've been saying this since March. I've been saying since March with this shutdown, because in March I said it's getting ready to escalate because I was seeing where everything was going, and that was the shutdown. But once the policing stopped because nobody's there, I want you to understand that people are going to need my channel more and more now because they're going to escalate because the machine shut down for 45 days. I want you to understand that the machine shut down for 45 days. They did not make any new revenue. If their primary goal is to generate revenue and they didn't do it for 45 days, guess what they're getting ready to do? They're getting ready to criminalize life. They're getting ready to criminalize things that are very minuscule. And they're going to do it with escalation. You're going to have escalated arrest. You're going to have escalated situations. You're going to have escalated responses. Understand it is coming because just in the last, this country's been open, 10 days, 6 days? I guarantee you, I can literally do a story every day about police brutality that's being videotaped and them not giving a fuck. I got 4 videos yesterday from California, 3 of them in LA. I literally just walked past one here in Houston. They arrested one young lady, had 8 police cars. She didn't have a gun. She was just loud. That was it. 8 police cars. It's going to come. And it's going to come not only for the rich, for the poor, they're coming for revenue. They're going to be locking folks up for the most minuscule things. You have to be prepared. This is where you sit down, stand up, and throw down for this shit because it's coming. And no, this is not a prediction. This is human nature. It's the understanding of business. It's the paying attention of the history of the world. Anytime there has been a vast or massive lockup mashed together, and absolutely, this was a mass test run. However, the first original test run was done after the Boston Marathon. They did a secondary test run in Illinois prior to this one. Now, understand it's going to come again because they're giving you little clues and they're using timelines like August. Want you to understand that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And but you have to start paying attention to simple things because right now is where the escalation begins. You can literally start looking every day. There is an issue, at least one that you know of every day. It's not going to stop. It's only going to get worse. This is the time to stand up. If you have a case, this is the time to fight it because there is a backlog. Because I'm gonna actually give you something because I actually came to Houston to help my sister because she had an issue here in Houston. And the great part about it was I had an opportunity to deal with the attorneys that she hired. However, one of them said the most hilarious thing I've ever heard in my life. But then there were questions that was asked on my response from it. This young woman, while my sister told her, yes, he's on speakerphone with me. This young woman told her, I believe it was Soho and Soho law firm here in Houston. I'm actually going to do another show, so yeah, I'm going to put their information up because I thought it was hilarious. She goes, her name is Ann. Ann says, yes, we filed a motion for discovery in February. I said, okay. Have you gotten anything? She said, well, no, because of Corona and this, that, and the third. You'll probably get it a day before trial. I said, how in the hell is that possible? And she goes, because it's up to the judge if you get it. So I said, when did it become discretionary for a fair trial? And then I said, codified in Texas Organic Code. And then, the antenna's going off. Codified in Texas Organic Code. Because I actually have, not on here. But I go, codified in Texas Organic Code, it has to be done immediately. Why? Because it has to coincide with federal law. And federal law says 10 days. And she said, oh, well, the coronavirus, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. However, that does not negate your responsibilities nor the responsibility of the DA. If they are choosing to not follow the guidelines of law, you will then be held liable, just as the DA will be held liable. I say, and your conversation is an actual representation of ineffectiveness of counsel because you're going to allow something that is unlawful to happen to your client. And she asked, and here's an answer for everybody that asked me this dumbass question, because for some reason I have never said it, but for some reason people call me and say, oh, I thought you would. This young lady asked me, was I an attorney? And I told her, fuck no. I yelled it out. Fuck no. I am unrestricted. Because understanding that, just because I can read, comprehend, and apply, I had to be something. But the fact that I was not going to go along with her fuckery, something had to be wrong. I'm going to say that one more. Because I can read, comprehend, and apply, something had to be wrong. Because I refused to go along with her fuckery. Because I was able to show her, not in federal law, but in her shit. I can show you in your shit that it was wrong. What you just said to me was wrong, not in federal law, but in your organic code, you were wrong. These are the things that they hate. Because it's not just knowing, it's understanding the application. And absolutely, attorneys are employees because you are paying them. If they don't do what you ask them to do, because I actually put that case up. If they don't do what you ask them to do, if you are not responsible for you, that's your fault. That's all I can say. If you're not responsible for you, that's your fault. Because one thing I love about my sister is the fact that she was like, oh, these are simple ass cases. I'm not even gonna bother him with this. I'll go ahead and get these folks that's here to go ahead and handle this. Cause why take something simple and make it bigger than what it is? Simple shit. But they are choosing to do fuckery and expecting her to go along with it, and she paid money out. But then when we don't go along with their fuckery, there's a problem. Why is that? This is just another reflection of when I speak about the entire team, defense attorneys, prosecutors, judges, they're all on the same team. Why? Because all of them have an oath to you. All of them have a bar card to their own club, and all of them are buddies. You're asking them to go against their buddies. When I told her that, no, 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 ma'am, I'm the one that made history by being first chair and pro se to beat a RICO trial. That's what made her shut up. And then we're going to see tomorrow. Because, again, tomorrow is going to be that date. Because I talked to her on a Friday. I guarantee you things happen on a weekend. Because I told her, I know for a fact they're in their office right now, and they've been in their office for the past 2 weeks. I know that for a fact. Why? Because our ass went to court on April 9th, or on April 6th. We went to the court building. If they having court still, then you understand. What's up, 502? If they're still having court, best believe they're still supposed to be following law. It ain't got shit to do with Corona. COVID-19 has nothing to do with none of that. So, oh, no problem, Jingy, because I know the first stream got corrupted somehow. Blah 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 blah. And appreciate you anyway. And I actually forgot your question, so I'm gonna hit you up. We'll probably do that tomorrow. Oh shit. And lastly, not sure how you guys feel about it, but do you prefer some of the lives and just me reading off, or do a mixture of both? And yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm not even gonna lie to you, because like I said, the original stream, I started talking about Ahmed and it cut off. So I guess I said something I wasn't supposed to say. They just immediately cut me off. And it went to buffering, so I switched phones, which I have no idea what difference it made, but you know, because again, the phone that I was using, I've been watching the entire time, no buffering, no nothing, and it's a beautiful ass screen, so you know, it is what it is. So, but yeah, do you guys, yeah, see, been watching the whole time, and not sure why it did what it did, when it did it, but oh, okay. So, on that note, do both need to know the cases? Okay, well, I guess on this one, I can do a kind of a live review. And one of the things I also want to do is whenever I post the videos, I was thinking about doing a after the show video where I post a video and then I do a live, and we have a conversation about the video that was posted and how it interacts with regular life. Okay, well actually that works for me too. All right, so if y'all guys like that, then we'll do that. And don't forget, I'm going to be having members only content. I'll be posting things. Hopefully, I thought the approval will be like a day. It's been like 2 weeks. But hopefully we'll have the member section. It will be up in June. I've been alerted by YouTube that it will be up in June, or before then. So getting everything together. I hope you guys okay. But yeah, so that's all I got for right now, unless y'all have any other questions that I can answer. And don't forget, For that, they just sent me a letter moving my court date. Shoot me an email. Shoot me an email because I want to see something. Because I think yours had a couple moving parts, and if that's the case I was thinking about. But yeah, shoot me an email. Let me see if I can type that on here. So, because it's greatest now at Yahoo. So I just popped it up. Greatest now at Yahoo. I got that too. I'm thinking if you waive your right. Actually, if you didn't file it, because it's not necessarily a waiver unless you didn't file it. Okay, yeah, yeah. Yours has a couple moving parts, and so shoot me an email. Shoot me an email. 502. All right, and I'll work on getting everything together. Hopefully, in the next week or so, I'll be back home and in a more controlled environment. But I love you guys. Don't forget, hit that Cash App, Zelle, shit, Google Pay, Samsung. Have you seen that many cops that are making videos talking about how they will not defile the? Hell no, I haven't seen not one. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen the cops saying they're not going to defile the Constitution because they butchering that motherfucker right now because nothing they're doing is constitutional. Because the cogs in the machine are actually working towards revenue generation. So I'm thinking about doing a live tomorrow. I'll be a little bit better prepared. And if my boy hit me on that Cash App, we might do a 2 hour show on the Conley. Cause I want to hold on while I'm sitting up here looking at this. Oh, nope. I got a show for tomorrow. I got a show for tomorrow, and so it actually might be later on tonight or in the morning. I'm not sure. It depends on if y'all guys show me some love. You show me some love, I might do it tonight. But if I can't sleep, y'all just show it to me in the morning. Have you seen one cop video that he might be, if he ain't lying, needs to train it? I'll get you links to the videos of two cops talking. Will not go against it. Yeah, that's bullshit. Okay, yeah, I would love to see that. I love to see that. Actually, you know what? I got a couple of shows I can actually do. Actually, you know what? I did. I actually wrote a show May 3rd, 2020, and it was like 1 in the morning because I couldn't sleep, and I wasn't sure how it's gonna work because I didn't think it was gonna. I thought it was gonna shut me off, but one of the shows I was gonna do, How Old is 15, and the reason being is because we were talk. It was a joke Dave Chappelle made, but it made a lot of sense because there was also a couple instances where I was watching someone's show. Actually, Tommy Sotomayor. Not sure if you know who he is or whatever. I was watching one of his shows, and it poured into a conversation about equality. But then it also went back to the interrogation of, I believe, the little girl that was pinned down by the police officer, and then the little 14-year-old boy that was pinned down by the police officer, and the context of how they were being dealt with, and then what they were being charged with. And I think that's one of the shows I definitely want to do this week, and that will probably be a decent little show. But I want you guys to actually have conversations with me when I'm doing a show like that, because for me, it's one that, while I understand certain contexts of it or aspects of it, because I do have children in that range, it's understanding other points of views on it, because I understand the legalities of it. Because at the end of the day, I'm gonna give you a couple of gems that people can actually use, whether they're dealing with child support or any issue that deals with their child to begin with. And it's a few that I've used, and So happened both of them were child support child, what do you call that? Child protective services issues, not child support. And yeah, it's one of those things where it's interesting, but it's something I'm gonna get into. But please, if you guys have any questions that you guys want to have a conversation about, any other than what my man brought up, okay, and the membership section. So yeah, that's why I'm stale right now because I'm trying to make sure I don't leave anything out and give you guys a couple seconds to ask a question or something before I leave off. So yeah, because I actually started writing one a little while back, and hopefully we can get together. All right, let me. Okay, and it's greatestnow@yahoo.com, and I just put it up again. Greatestnow@yahoo.com. I love you guys. I appreciate you for tuning in. Don't forget, donations are always welcome. And Supreme out.